You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money. Welcome back, my sassy friend, to another episode of Cash and Sass. My name is Lisa Marie. I am the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach and this podcast. And today with me, I have Dwight Heck. And I love your last name because it's like you also put it with the name of your business. He's the owner of Give a Heck Financial, who started his lifestyle financial planning business 21 years ago while living paycheck to paycheck as a single dad of 5 children. Like many of us, Dwight didn't understand the rules of the money game. Using strategies he learned to help himself with his mental roadblocks, he turned his life around and now teaches others to do the same, which is how to live life on purpose and not by accident. Thank you very much, Dwight, for being on my show. And I think I'm going to start it off with, can you tell us a little bit about the living paycheck to paycheck and, just a little bit about your story of like where you said you weren't running a purposeful life. That's a big word I couldn't say. A purposeful life with a budget. Most people don't like that word budget. I call it a money roadmap. Because when you have a money roadmap, like maps, we sometimes have to take detours. So it lets people know that you're going to have to tweak it along the way, and it may have to shift and change. But tell us just a little bit about your story.
Sure. I appreciate you having me on. Most people, like you mentioned, though, don't like the term budget because they don't understand how it can help enhance your life. It doesn't make your life worse. It makes you have an open book to what is going on in your life. Can you achieve things and live in comfort today, retire in comfort, and die with dignity? Because it literally makes it so that you are living intentionally. So in my life, when I first got into the finance industry 21 years ago, I had another business, had a consulting firm, very successful in the IT industry, 6-figure income earner, but I was living from paycheck to paycheck, like many people are. Doesn't matter if you're a thousandaire or a millionaire, if you don't structure things properly and understand how money's going out, you can overspend really easily and be behind the 8 ball, running out of days in the month, living a month with more month than money. So I was that person, got into the industry. I was reached out by a friend that said, "Hey, you're having some health concerns. You need to leave that industry, close your business down, come work with us, right? We'll teach you how to get your own house in order before you go and teach others, obviously." In about 6 weeks of getting trained, I fired that trainer because they were just very transactional. I didn't see anything different than I had experienced as an adult already with other financial planners. And I realized that a big part of it was the fact is they weren't teaching me anything about, okay, you want me to buy this, you want me to do this, but you're not really teaching me, can I afford it? Yes, I can put it on a
Mhm.
credit card, I can have it set for auto withdrawal out of my bank account, but you're not teaching me how can I afford it. You're not teaching me some of the things that I learned since I was a child, which I at that point still wasn't really grasping, and that's the difference between needs and wants. So I sat down and with some other people, and we had discussions about budgeting and how could we implement this within our own financial brokerages, our own practices. And some people got it, some people didn't. Some people didn't want to offend their potential clients or their new clients. And I thought, well, what better of a guinea pig than myself? And I started going through looking at all my numbers, not like the traditional person. They take an envelope and they turn it over or a small piece of paper and they write down a few of their bills. I'm talking detail to this is in the past when I had hair, haircuts and stuff like that, making sure you put down your oil changes and then go back a month and adjust what you had budgeted for groceries if it was higher or lower to see what my end result was. And why was that? Because I was also learning and teaching goal setting. Well, some of my goals were to get out of some debt that I was in, to be able to go on a paid vacation without always having to use a credit card and pay it off the next 6 months, year, 2 years, plus save for retirement. Just do things that all of us want, but we don't know how to do it. And that active budget, as I was going through the process, it was a giant light bulb effect, a giant wake up call. I was along the way of doing this with myself. I learned debt roll up processes and how to utilize the budget to get out of debt very effectively, how to save for what I wanted, to get things that were wants but weren't needs. So making sure that my budget controlled and was able to pay for my needs. I also had to be honest with myself. I'd look at those costs and go, do I really need that subscription service? Do I really need to spend that? Wow. Like, I'm going and looking at presents for people and I'm just spending whatever. There's no controlled spending, right? I needed to wake up and say, "Hey, I'm not spending $100. I'm spending 75. They're going to be just as happy, or 50, or whatever the case may be." And I started, literally a budget is I had somebody on my own show here recently and about finance and we are talking about it and they put it succinctly that a budget is like a diet for your money, right? It literally it's a lifestyle way of living so that I know I can live better. So fast forward raising my children, it was crucial because I went from being a single dad of 5 kids, and within 6 years, 7 years of being in the industry, I got them full time. I wasn't joint anymore. I had them full time, 24 hours a day. They were my responsibility 100% financially. And I got caught up in stuff and raising them. And I stopped budgeting because I was literally running on a hamster wheel, getting them to extracurricular activities, getting home, cooking meals, doing laundry, trying to deal with my clientele still, that I let my own life slide. And I fell into quiet desperation. And why do I bring that up? Budgeting stops that from happening. When you live a controlled
Mhm.
life through your numbers, you don't live in quiet desperation. You live understanding, "Ooh, this is a tough month. I need to do things differently next month to compensate for it," or whatever the case may be, or maybe it's the prior month to it if you're really good at budgeting. And I started falling back into depression and financial worry, that tightness in my chest. And I had to sit back and think to myself, what did I do? What have I done the last 7 years? I haven't felt this way. Let's see. I forgot that I need to actively budget. And I started doing it again, right? It then hit that. It was 2008 when the housing industry crashed and the financial markets crashed. And it was a game changer, a lifesaver for me and how I felt at night, how I'd wake up in the morning, how my kids viewed things. Cause then I started coaching them more about needs and wants. I had stopped doing, as they were aging, because now some of them were teenagers. At the 5, I started teaching about the needs and wants and teaching them about, you want this? Is that a need or a want? Sometimes they go, sigh, yes, dad, we know it's a need. Or no, pardon me, it's a want, not a need. And they'd walk away. Right. And it was a real wake up call. But the focus of all of this, so is that budgeting is so important for a purposeful life. I talk about it in my own book. There's a whole chapter on um 2 chapters, pardon, one on goal setting and one on how to effectively budget. And the two are tied together because you have to know
Yeah,
what you
I
want.
agree.
You have to know what's important,
Well, you
right?
have to know you have to know your wants and your desires. I tell
Yeah.
my clients all the time, that if your spending isn't aligned with your wants and your desires and your core values, along with your business not being aligned with it, then it's not going to work. And the reason why is because you're going to feel it's too restrictive. You're going to feel like it's a crash diet, not a lifestyle change. And I tell my clients all the time, you know, there's a meme out there that says this or that. And I tell them that you don't have to choose, you don't have to not go out to eat. What you need to do is be purposeful. Okay, this is how much I'm spending out to eat. Do I want to spend this much or do I want to cut it back and save for that trip I want or go buy a present or something? Because when a lot of times when clients come to me, I don't have any money and I can go in and just look at the last 3 months and I'm going, "Okay, well this is where your money went. Is this where you want it to be going?" They'll go, "No." Okay, well that's the reason why we build, you say it's a purposeful budgeting. I call it a money roadmap. And the reason why I call it a money roadmap is because when it's personalized to you, including like what you're talking about, your oil change, as one off expenses, the yearly expenses that we don't think about. I'm in South Carolina, so we have car taxes. once a year. And I know a lot of states don't. We do. And, you know, they sneak up on us when we don't think about it. They're yearly. Who thinks about car taxes? You know, I think about them because I talk about them because it's an example, but because it's once a year, and if it sneaks up and you're not prepared for it, depending on the vehicle you have, you could be paying anywhere between five to $800, $1,000 property taxes per year. And so, what I do, I have a vehicle savings account that's just for my vehicle, for my oil changes, emergencies, and also the property taxes. And so much a month goes into that savings account so that it doesn't throw a hiccup on the everyday, you know, monthly budgeting. And so I think it's important. There's a You can go out and get all these spreadsheets on budgets, and the reason why they don't work is because they don't show you how to effectively do it based on your lifestyle and um and your wants and your desires, and they don't show you how to include everything in there, right? And I think that, like you're saying, having the goals and then having a purposeful budget is really important. And one of the things that I love about it is I always say, okay, is this to my girls, is this a need or a want? They'll roll their eyes at me. They're at that stage, they're teenagers, they roll their eyes at me, and they'll go, it's a want. And I'll go, okay, well, if it's a want, you get an allowance. Do you need it, like, right this second? No.
Save it up.
Exactly, save it up. You
Uh,
know, and one of the ways that I cut back on the always wanting to go out to eat is they know to come and ask. They now come and ask, "Mommy, is there money in the out to eat account?" I have a savings account specifically for out to eat. And if there's not any money in there, they don't get to go out to eat. They know it's only once a week. They're allowed to go have some kind of fast food. That's the max. And there has to be money in that account. And if there's not, then they have to wait until the next month when money gets put back into that account. And it's showing them that, you know, money is just not readily available for us to throw away. And again, it's being purposeful, it's being mindful, it's being strategic. And again, because if we're throwing money away, then we're not able to get to those things that we want, and, you know, live the life that we want and do the things that we want to do. You know, if whether it's travel or buy a house or, you know, whatever those things are. So I love the fact that you're teaching your kids that, and that you know, how you're saying you can live a purposeful life. I tell people all the time that a budget isn't to restrict you, it's to actually give you your power back, so you know where your money is going and you can tell it, okay, this is where I want it to go. No, I don't want. Do I really want to be spending $300 on cable? No. And you know, you make decisions based off of that. So, you know, I haven't had cable in, I don't know, years, and that's because I didn't want to pay $260 for cable anymore. I stopped cable before everybody else stopped cable.
so
But
you
it
were a
was like,
cord cutter, but you were one of the, you know,
yes.
the pioneers of cord cutting. There you go.
I
You're a
was like,
pioneer.
we can have Netflix and we can have the Roku. This is before Paramount. This is before all the extra ones came in. It was Netflix, the Hulu was Roku, and I think there was one other thing, and that was it. And I was like, and I can spend $25 a month or this, and I was like, I don't watch enough TV for this, and out it went, and we've been without it for 8 years, almost 9 years, and it was, you know, now we've added like CBS Access and Disney Plus. I still spend less than $50 on, you know, any of the things, and people are like, oh, go back to cable and you get all these channels. Yeah, no, I would rather have my $280 go somewhere else. You know, I would rather it go towards a vacation or something. And again, there's nothing wrong with having cable. Point is you need to decide if that's exactly where you want your money to go. And also, and I'm sure Dwight will agree, if you are struggling to pay your other bills, one of the first things that should be going is extras, which I consider cable to be, because you can get, you know, Netflix for less than $15 a month or right at $15 a month. And, you know, you have to look at, okay, is this a need or a want in order to make sure you can make ends meet to get to the point to where you can have those extras again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The streaming services. are grand, cable's grand, and you have to look at your life. And if your goal is to be a TV junkie and that's a need for you, then I guess it goes into your budget. For most of us, if you're struggling to pay your bills, you need to look at your expenses and be holistic about it. Your spending out account for eating out. I don't know how many people have been doing it for 21 years. They're broke. They can't afford their kids' extracurricular activities. They've got no money. They're going into overdraft. Oh, there's no way you're going to be able to help me free up money. And after we get through, doing the budgeting and goal setting, and then we'll go through and we're saying, okay, you tell me what's a need and a want in here, and obviously there it's like a shotgun blast. They don't have it just spreads everywhere. They don't really understand. And I'll go through and we'll start doing the needs and wants. All of a sudden there's $50, $100 they can free up. There's $200. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Client, or if it's an individual and I do business budgeting too, person, look at the money we can free up. Your goals state this. Hey, that money will fit that goal, or hey, that money will help you with two of these goals, and within we're going to help you set it up so you auto save that every single month. And oh, you've never had an emergency fund. Well, we just freed up $200. Let's figure out how we're going to break up this $200 for some of these goals that you have that we've already identified as wants. Oh, you're massively in debt. Well, are you comfortable with it? Does it keep you up at night? Should we accelerate paying it off right away, or do you want to pay part of it off with that 200 and put part of it toward your vacation fund so you can still have some fun,
Exactly.
or yeah, or an entertainment
And there's
account going to
nothing
movies, right?
right. And there's nothing wrong with which way it goes, whether if you want to aggressively pay off the debt or not. It's based off of, okay, what's good for your nervous system and how you're going to be okay. Like, I'm okay having some debt because, again, I don't believe all debt is bad. I believe if we use it strategically, it can actually be good and it can help us in our business and sometimes our personal lives when we have emergencies. Again, use it strategically. Now, I can say that because I'm 50 and in before I turned 40, I've had two foreclosures, a short sale, and a chapter 7 bankruptcy. And the chapter 7 bankruptcy was before I turned 30. I've ruined my credit several times over and have rebuilt it, and now it's the highest score it's ever been, and it's still not quite where I want it. And so when I say be strategic with with your credit, you have to, if you utilize it correctly and utilize it strategically, you can, especially now with the cashbacks and the points, you can actually earn free cash as long as you're not elevating it and spending it frivolously on things and not thinking about it. So again, it's using it strategically to your advantage. There was a time that I didn't do that. And so I made it to where I refused to have a credit card until I got in that mindset of being able to do that. And so I've actually had one client, I told her to go put her cards in the freezer. She was like, "What?" I said, "Go stick them in a Ziploc bag, stick them under something in your freezer, out of sight, out of mind." I said,
I've gone one
you,
step on that. One of the presentations I do shows a jar with the credit cards in there filled full of water and frozen solid.
that'll work too. That way you can't get them out. I like that.
It's not
And
easy. It's not easy to
it's not
access
easy.
them, right? And
Yeah,
that's the
right.
problem. People will hide them in their cupboard, hide them in whatever they do.
Well, and
But
nowadays you don't even have to have your card, right? You can go online and, Amazon's got them all listed and then they
yeah,
have a one-click pay. And I actually did away with my one click. There's a way to make it where it's not active. And I made it to where it wasn't active. And people are like, why? And I was like, because we end up impulse buying. I said, so now I have a rule. When I go onto Amazon to look for something, if I add something to my cart, I wait 24 hours. And if in 24 hours I am still thinking about that thing that I found and decided I needed to buy, and there's money, okay, I'll buy it. And they're like, okay. I said, do you want to make a bet what happens normally in 24 hours? They go, what? You buy it? I said, no, I forget about it.
I do the
I
same
still,
thing actually.
to this, and so if I forget about it, then it's not something I need to have right now. It's
Well,
not
why
a,
do people impulse buy though? It's not always about the fact of it can be
it,
the 6 inches between their ears. They're depressive, so they're buying for
right.
that dopamine hit, and then they have the
They're
buyer's
bored.
remorse or whatever the case may be, or they sit with somebody that
Yep.
makes them feel less than worthy, right? Because
And
they've
then they go
bought
by.
this, and
Yep.
yes, and even though they can't afford it, they want to, or they want to project something to an individual or group of people that they have more than they do. Most people, those listening, most people on the planet, if you see them and you open up the book of their life and you look inside, it's empty. They're literally barely hanging on. They're statistically in North America, most people, there's 90 days away from losing everything if they lost their job. No savings, no emergency fund, nothing structured and in place. And 90 days later, they're getting people knocking on the door saying, "Hey, you owe us this." Right? I've seen so many people have been reached out to me, and it's too
Well,
late
I
for me
mean,
to
I've
help
been
them.
there.
They've lost their, and I'm not judging them because I've gone through the hills and valleys of the financial world. That's what makes you and I great at coaching and mentoring other people in
Mhm.
finance, because we can empathize, we can connect with them, we can
Yeah.
share those
Well, and
stories, right?
right. And I tell people all the time, here's the thing, there's no judgment because you can't tell me anything that I haven't done
Eh,
or seen or occurred. One person was afraid to come and tell me they had their vehicle repossessed. I was like, "Honey, do you really want to know how many I've had repossessed over the course of my life?" And I mean, I'm not laughing or saying it's not serious. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying um and I'm not saying it like it's a good thing. What I'm saying is there's no judgment because again, I've been there. I've been afraid of that judgment because I've been at rock bottom. I was on food stamps and I was told I was never going to get off when I got on them. And that was when I started my business. And there's a whole story around all that. And 3 years later, I was off of them because I was determined and because I knew in the process, I realized that money mindset and money management go hand in hand and you can bring in all the money you want. And like Dwight says, if you're not managing it, you're still going to be broke. You're still not going to have anything because you're not telling it, you're not deciding and being in charge and having that power of where you want it to go. And I think
right.
that's just, I think when people realize that having a budget, a money roadmap, whatever anyone wants to call it, um, when you have something like that, when you realize that it actually gives you the power back, it's actually very empowering. I like looking at mine, and I'm going to be honest. My business has shifted, and there's been some things that have happened over the last 6 months that if I wouldn't have had the plan that I have and the accounts that I have, I'd probably be more screwed, like literally. And it's because I have that money roadmap and because I have the system in place, and I look at the numbers that I look at. And like you said, is this a want or is this a need? Is there anything that can be cut back or adjusted right now while we're having that rough period? And when you're an entrepreneur, that goes from your business and falls also into your personal life because, again, I pay myself. So it goes over there. So if my business being affected, my personal money roadmap's also going to be affected, right? Because I pay myself, and so I just think it's really important um, to be able to look at that. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, you said that one of the limiting beliefs you had was you had to choose between financial success and family, and I think some people have thought that. Um, what is the story behind that? Why was that a limiting belief, and then how did you shift it?
Well, at the end of the day, you can decide to, I had opportunities to get involved in a brokerage system where I would have ended up making millions of dollars a year. At that same time, we were going through challenges, and I had gone to court to fight to get 100% custody of my kids. And it was time consuming, it was everything consuming, right? It was mentally consuming, and I had to make a decision because I knew how much time I was going to be required to commit, right? This is before I had the kids full time. I just had joint custody of them, so I'd have weeks where I'd be able to work as much as I wanted, but I knew I wouldn't be able to commit the amount of effort that was required. And I had to decide, I'm okay with what I'm making now. I'm, I'm making a decent enough income. It's not necessarily where we'd all want to be. Everybody thinks about it. When they're a thousandaire, they want to be a millionaire. When they're a millionaire, they want to be a billionaire. The list goes on. I had to decide, what is enough? What are my core values? I know what my core values are. Am I applying what I'm going to do to those core values? And my core values, work is the last. Faith, family, work is my three main core values, and there's subsets of them. And if my faith and my family aren't right, I don't feel right. And I turned them down. And I actually walked away from the opportunity. Those same individuals are all multimillionaires because of it. But every one of them, and I'm not exaggerating, have crappy family lives. They're now adult kids, don't communicate with them. They don't have great relationships. I have great relationships with all five of my kids. I see my grandkids. The list goes on. I'm not a millionaire, but at the end of the day, I have enough to sustain myself, to go on trips, to be happy, to pay my bills, and I accepted. I don't want to say that I settled, because I didn't. I made a
No,
conscious
you
choice
decided
based,
right,
exactly, based on my core
based
values,
on
and
your
based
desires and your
that
core
my
values.
family was more important. See, my dad,
Mhm.
I love my father. My father, very, very wealthy entrepreneur with a business. He's long retired. He's in his 80s now. Never seen him growing up. Work, 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 where it was his core values. And I seen myself initially when I got into my first business, my first as a serial entrepreneur, as a consultant, and I had a retail computer company. I would work literally 18, 20-hour days. I'd get 3, 4 hours of sleep, and I was go, go, go. And I realized I fell into that trap of what I had seen, the learned behavior of being risen. That part of me being raised by my dad and mom. And I decided, I woke up one day and I said, I can't be this way. Then I got into the financial industry, and initially the first few years I started doing that. I was just go, go, go. And then I woke up one day and I said to myself, well, you know what? I'm missing the journey of life. I'm missing all these experiences and these things that money will never buy back. Yes, I can buy a nicer car, go on a fancier trip, buy more clothing, whatever. There's only so much we need. We all live in we overspend. Most of us do. We have way more than we need. And I just woke up one day and said to myself, "This is enough." And I stopped working in the summers. I took every single summer off as my kids were growing up, and I still dealt with clients, but I didn't take anything new on. I only dealt with the current
I do
clients
the same
when
thing.
I took every single summer off from when they were very, very young, and the memories we have, the pictures, the experiences, all those making all that money, good for you. Now you got all this money and you're lonely, you're upset, you're depressed, you're trying to spend past it because it's too late to recover what you've lost, right? You can maybe rebuild relationships with people such as your significant other or kids, but you can't get rid of it with money. I've seen wealthy people that have done what I'm talking about, and I have clients like that that'll give their kids excessive amounts of money because they got it, thinking that it's just gonna, oh, they're the hero. No, the hero that your family wanted was the one that's present in the moment, creating those memories.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say that, again, what I want my listeners to understand is you need to really take a look inside and decide, and again, you don't have to be honest with anyone else except yourself, but decide, what are your core values, and are you spending and saving and making money according to those? And if you're not, one of the things I say is normally when we realize we're not happy with what we're doing, or we're aggravated where we're at, when we look at how we're spending or saving or what we're doing with our money, and how our mindset is not aligned with our core values and desires. And when we realize that, all we have to do is make a shift. I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not. I have never said changing mindset is easy. It's a work in progress. I'm still a work in progress every single day.
Me too.
And it and it will always be a work in progress, just like your fitness. You don't go and work out, get fit, and then never have to work out again. Damn, if it worked that way, I'd be so happy. And it doesn't. Okay. I tell people all the time, I don't like working out. And they're going, wait a minute, Lisa, but you do 6 days a week. Yes, I do. And the reason why I do is because I don't like it when I don't, even worse. I do it for mental. I do it because of how it makes me feel. And I know it keeps me healthy. But mine is more what it does for me mentally to keep my mindset right and keep me going more than anything. And so, because I tell people I don't like working out, and yet I don't like how I feel when I don't. So I work out.
But
It's I like
life
the
is
way
a
it
trade-off,
feels
though.
afterwards, right?
Things are
Right,
trade-off.
exactly.
Life's a trade-off. You have to make choices,
Right.
and what do you want? So I'm not judging the people that out there that want to work, work, work. I'm just telling you there's a consequence.
But you
There's a
don't have and
consequence to all of it, right? Good or
right,
bad. And
right. And you can make money and not have to work yourself to the ground. That it's possible. During the summer, I may work later on Mondays and Tuesdays, and with my current clients. And the reason why I do is because Wednesday will be my uh, on business work, whatever I'm in the process of getting ready for the fall. But during those 2 months, I take on no new clients, one-on-one clients. Matter of fact, for my podcast, there's only one recording day in June and one recording day in July and nothing else because I'm a summer girl and I'm going to be outside somewhere, pool, uh, water park, somewhere with my girls. We're Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are our days. Um, and, I always know those will be lower revenues because I don't take on new clients. I have my current clients, but I don't take on any new clients. And at first had the fear of being judged. And then I was like, yes, but working like this through the summer is not aligned with my values. I love summer. I don't mind working during the winter because I don't like winter and I'm not going outside. I love summer. And when I realized that, it was easy to make that shift because it's like, okay, why are you not happy? Because you're working even harder during the summer than you do during the winter, and this needs to flip. You don't go anywhere during the winter because you don't like the cold. So I flipped it. And this will be the third summer in a row that my schedule has already been shifted. My clients know. They know that if they're normally on Thursday for the call, they're being moved to Monday or Tuesday, and it'll be a little bit later because Thursdays are out. And that's just it works. And and honestly, your clients are going to be okay with it. I didn't think they would be, and they are. They like seeing you do something aligned with your values because then it lets them know they can also do it. So I just think it's really important. And some people are really against budgeting again because they think it's going to be restrictive. And I think the biggest thing that me and Dwight are both saying is it's not restrictive. You get to choose, and what you choose is going to have there's a consequence anyway, right? So if you want to save for this vacation and you can't do this and have that, then which one are you choosing? One of the consequence is you're going to get this over this. But I don't like using it as a consequence. I don't like saying I had the power to make a choice and I made the choice and then I'm okay with the choice because I'm the one that made it. I had the power. I had the power to choose. And so when you look at it that way, to me, it's not really a consequence. It's like, okay, I want to save for this. I'll just wait on this. I'll save for this first, reach that, then I'll save for this. That's what I do. I say which one I want to save for first. Which one do I want to go for first? Then I do it, then I go for the other thing. And sometimes that other thing you don't want later. And you're like, "Oh, I'm so glad I didn't choose that one. I want to do this now." And you go for that. I just think it's important to realize that working and making money is not the be all end all. It's yes, it helps the world go round, but when we can create and retain it and expand it to make the world a better place and to also be with our kids and to travel and do things, that's what, especially when it's aligned with your values and your desires, then that's what really matters. um I think that's I don't know. I could talk about that all day. Um, that I'm really passionate about it. If you can't tell, um, one of the things that you also talked about uh, was like one of the hardest things of managing was like making corrections or things such as like the pandemic that kept people at bay. Um, and I think that's important too, because sometimes as business owners, we have to be able to make those shifts, right? We have to be able to say, okay, like you're talking about, what can be cut back to get us through the tough months, right? Um, can you talk about that? Like, what are some of the things that you looked at to make some of those changes so you could get through the pandemic, for example, or through a slow month or whatever?
Well, within the same thing I do for my clients, I simply looked at how lean can I run my budget so that I'm not struggling because I'm commission based. So all of a sudden, people stopped wanting to do things during the pandemic, and it wasn't a short period of time. It's still affecting my
Right,
business even outside of the pandemic. It's still affecting it because so many people are in debt because of the pandemic. They haven't caught up, and some people, if they don't get help, will never catch up. So I looked at my circumstances and realized, I went from making X amount of money. Now I'm making Y amount of money. My budget was based on X. I'm going to have to trim things out. The pandemic was natural for trimming things out. The things that I did going out, all of a sudden weren't able to do. So I was able to easily transition, but it wasn't so easy for some people. They'd reach out to me, we'd jump on a Zoom call, I'd look at their budget with them, and there was nothing we could do. They were already living so trimmed, right? They were living a life of what I call broke. For me, living broke for my clients is they break even every month. Beyond broke is when they're living more month than money, right? And thank goodness over the pandemic, I had the ability to live off of emergency fund. I had a massive savings that I had been saving up for that rainy day, right? And that's what helped me be able to still live better. There wasn't a lot, to be honest with you, that I could cut off my budget that I already hadn't cut, that I already hadn't trimmed off, because when you're living a purposeful life, you're living that financial roadmap. I use that terminology to my clients too. The financial roadmap. If you're doing it right, you're not. There's not a lot I could trim, right? Yes, I could cancel, Paramount for an example, the streaming service, and it's going to save me $9.99. Will that make a difference for some people? Absolutely. For me, I didn't need to, right? So again, there's nothing I can give advice as to what to take out except for look at the obvious. If you have four streaming services and you have no income coming in or very little income, pick the one you like the most, get rid of the other three. You can always hook them back up. Oh, wait a minute. You have a cell phone and you're paying X amount for so many gig of data. And I look at clients and I'll tell them you're suffering right now. Let's change your cell phone package. Let's dial it back. Things that I've been doing consistently for myself, even during the pandemic, prior to the pandemic, and I do for my clients. I practice what I preach. I'm pretty sure you're probably the same way, right? Is you got to practice what you preach. So that's basically what I had to do during the pandemic, is continue to help them understand the needs and wants principle again. What can you sacrifice so that we can get you to a level of you breaking even every month and not sliding back into overdraft lines of credits? And I said, because I understand that pain because I've been there, I've lived that, right? So
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just important because, again, um, you have to make decisions based off of your circumstances, based off of your lifestyle. And, if, you're in business and you have a business line of credit and you have to touch it, that doesn't mean you're bad with money or anything like that. All I'm gonna say is make sure you're strategic with paying it back and make sure you don't get so far under that you can't catch up because
uh,
that's where you get in trouble.
and the payment
And
has to be in your budget.
yes,
A lot
yeah,
of
I
people
mean,
don't
you
get
got
that.
yeah, the first thing I did when I touched my business line of credit was I added the payment to my money roadmap. It's right there and it has to be
I knew
made
you
and
would have.
it's
I'm
it's
talking.
part
I'm
of my
talking
money
to the
roadmap.
listeners. I'm
Yeah,
talking to the
well,
listeners. It's shocking
some
how they
people
don't
will
think
say,
about.
"I'll use the line of credit," and then all of a sudden there's money due, and they go, "Oh, I owe it," and I'm like, "Did you not add it to your list?"
Yeah,
Because when yes, having a line of credit, you don't have to pay anything as long as you're not using it. But then once you use it, there's going to be a payment amount, and so it needs to be immediately added to your financial roadmap, your money roadmap. whatever it is you call it, and it needs to be added. And that's whether it's business or personal, right? Same thing with your credit card. All of a sudden, you're using a credit card. Okay, did you add that payment to your money roadmap? No. Well, you are going to have to make a payment, And then I tell people, okay, you had to go and use it to put tires on a vehicle. Hello, been there. Trust me.
That's a need.
And right, it's a
Yeah.
need, and you did it, and it was more than what you thought. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, let's sit down and come up with a plan to pay it back in so many months, however, whatever you're looking at. So that way the payment is then up there and included. So that way, if you're able to pay more than the minimum, then you're able to get it paid off quicker. Just to, again, it depends on the situation. It again, I think it's really important to understand that all of it needs to be aligned, with your values. I had one client who she didn't realize how much they were spending going out to eat between her and her husband for lunch, when they're working, they both own their own business. And so when I had her do what I call a I call it a quarterly check. So she had to go and pull 3 month statements, and you actually have to print them, and you actually have to go and highlight. And I make them do it because then it's forefront with their eyes. And when she did it and then she added it up, she had a call with me. She went, "Holy crap." And I went, "What?" She goes, "Okay, no, I know what you're going to ask me." And the answer is no. And I said, "What am I going to ask you?" She said, "What you always ask me. Am I okay with this amount? Is this what I want to be spending? Is this where I want this money to be going?" I was like, "Okay." And she was spending X $100. And she was like, "No, I'm not okay with this." And I was like, "But you didn't realize it." And again, we have debit cards, easily slide, credit cards, easy slide. Even if you're not using credit, the debit cards are just an easy slide. You don't think about it. So they didn't realize how much money they were spending. And they're not struggling. She just wanted to be able to put money somewhere else. And she was saying it wasn't there. And when she did it, she realized it was there. They were just putting it on out to eat. So her and her husband sat down and came up with a spending amount that they were willing to do on out to eat, what was okay with them, and then which was a good chunk less. And we created a plan, made sure it was in the money roadmap, and then we put that extra $300 that they were spending. It was a lot of money they're spending. This extra $300 into an account where they wanted it to go. Kind of like what you're saying. Okay, we can put this toward this vacation fund. We can put this towards that. And when we do these, I still do my quarterly checks because again, sometimes life happens and we don't realize we're spending extra, especially with the debit card. So I do my quarterly checks to make sure that I'm still in line with what I've got budgeted for like my gas and for the things, and make sure it's all still aligned. Because the prices of groceries increase, the price of gas will increase, and making sure that those all still check out is really important. So it's just making sure that I tell people all the time, knowledge is power, and burying your head in the sand isn't going to get you to the next level. it's not gonna it's not gonna help you have a better relationship with money. Knowing your numbers will, which is what a purposeful budget will do, which is a roadmap, financial roadmap, money roadmap, however you want to call it. That will help you change your relationship with money because you'll know what's actually going on with your money. And I just think that's really, really important. Dwight, you have a free offer for my guests. Will you please tell them about it? It was, I think it was
It's my book.
yes, your
Yeah.
book. Will you please
Uh,
tell them about that?
sure. If they go to, you can go to giveaheck.com. You can click on the book part of the site. You can read up on it, and you can actually get the book for free just by paying the shipping and handling. It'll get shipped to you. If you're outside of the US, you can get the PDF for free. But if you actually want the physical copy of the book, you'll pay the shipping cost, the $6.95. It'll get shipped to you, and you'll always have also part of me have the opportunity to book a free call with me, right? A strategy call to see if there's something I can do to help you, because I do way more than budgeting. I do a lot of lifestyle coaching the last 21 years. When you're in the business of doing what Lisa and I do, we literally are dealing with a lot of stuff between the 6 inches between your ears, right? We're helping you think
Mm-hmm.
differently about your life, how to process things differently. Knowing the difference between a need and a want is processing differently. Understanding values of your core values of family versus work, work, work. That's a shift in a thought process. So it's so much more than just implementing the numbers. We utilize strategies and things that are going to help you live a life that's purposeful and not by accident. So check it out, grab my book.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can reach out to me and have a free strategy call. And yeah, thanks for listening.
I absolutely love it. I hope you will take him up on that because a free strategy call is w- anyone who can help with the lifestyle coaching and the help you see the numbers and all that. It's always worth it. Um, and thank you so much, Dwight, for being on my show. I thoroughly enjoyed having you and my sassy friend. Until next time, remember to stay sassy. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And remember, yes, it is possible to have sassy and sexy money. See you next week.